Hi, I'm Emmett Reed. Welcome to a special edition of the Florida Healthcare Association Provider Program. Today, I had an opportunity to sit down with FHCA legislative staff to talk about the 2012 legislative session and also about what you can expect from the legislative session in the future.
This is a Tallahassee update from the Florida Healthcare Association.
All right, now I'm with FHCA Chief Lobbyist Bob Astalis. Bob, how you doing today?
Great. It's nice to be here in the Capitol where it's nice and quiet on the fourth floor.
Right, we didn't think we would be back at the Capitol this soon, though,
No,
did we?
didn't.
But at least it's not for a special session dealing with our reimbursement, right?
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Well, speaking of reimbursement and the session, first of all, I want to congratulate you, the Legislative Committee, our Florida Promise, Florida Healthcare PAC, really our membership, our leadership team, all came together. And really, all in all, we're facing a $2 billion deficit, and we've had a pretty darn good year.
We really did. Kudos really goes to the leadership of Florida Healthcare because the members realized that this was a year that we needed to focus on fixing our reimbursement rates and making sure our folks get paid to provide quality care. And we really focused on, like a laser on that. We got that done. We got them good rates. And now it's time to move on to other issues.
Well, and you're right. And again, just congratulations. There was a lot of work put into it, and your coordination was so helpful. I want to let you know we appreciate that, and the members appreciate that too. Bob, you talk about next year. You know, it's kind of neat. You go through the legislative process, and we are already seeing some challenges that are being teed up by the legislature, specifically when it comes to nursing homes for 2013 for that legislative session. Talk a little bit about what you observed.
You're right. The nice thing is it really gives us the opportunity to look at what other professions are doing and see how they move with similar issues. And this year we really watched two fights and learned a lot from it for next year because they're going to roll our way. The first was the medical malpractice. The doctors in hospitals pushed a very aggressive medical malpractice bill, and it was interesting to watch them. They were able to successfully move it through the House. It got shredded in the Senate and ultimately killed in the Senate. And I think we saw how senators lined up on that. We saw some strategy issues, but that's going to help us, I think, with our tort campaign next year. The other thing, too, is that we've elected a very heavy Republican legislature, and they're free marketers, and that free market spirit applies to health care. And there's a real desire among the legislature to do away with CON and CON requirements. And we saw that this year with trauma hospitals. They were looking to do away with the CON requirements for trauma hospitals, and we've heard a bit on the nursing home side. So again, watching that debate really is going to help us next year when those issues roll our way.
Right, and you know, I think the important thing and the opportunity for our members is education in education of the legislature on our issues. Talk about the importance of our Florida Promise and the coordination of FHCA and our Florida Promise in that light.
Well, what our Florida Promise has done is it allowed our members to be both politically active and then grassroots active by having legislators in the buildings and by contributing to people who support us up here. And what our Florida Promise has done is it has given us a seat at the table. Legislators now care about our opinions, they care about our view, they want us at the table to have solutions. Now, with that ability and that privilege of being at the table is a lot of responsibility. And it means that we can't just say no, we need to come up with solutions for legislators because they see us as partners and we have to act as partners. And we're going to have some tough decisions. We're going to have some tough issues, but they're willing to be our partner, and that's the best way to be.
That's good. Yeah, it's definitely, in the 3 years that I've been on board, I certainly have seen a much more educated legislature when it comes to nursing homes and what actually happens in a nursing home, and I really attribute that to the entire grassroots and the Florida Healthcare, our Florida Promise effort. Now, November's coming up, and there's some elections going on. Just tell me the importance of those elections, Bob.
Oh, I'll tell you, this is probably the most exciting election cycle that we've seen in years because of the redistricting. Every senator and every House member is up for re-election. Plus, they shifted their districts around.
Right.
There are a lot of open seats. There's really going to be major challenges for how the Senate's going to be run based on the elections. This election is really going to make a difference, and I'll tell you, under your leadership and the effort to really have our folks bring people into nursing homes, bring candidates in, that is so crucial. Educating these legislators, letting them see what we do, how we take care of patients, because it's going to be a whole different Senate and a whole different House when they come back. And I'll tell you, having these folks educated about our issues is going to make our ability to make change in the 2013 session so much better. So, I'm just ask our folks to keep on going and doing what they're doing and keep educating these legislators.
I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in this very successful 2012 legislative session. Our members, you did a great job. 500 people, it's amazing. Any of you that didn't participate, but if you'd like to participate, we have all sorts of opportunities through FHCA or our Florida Promise. Listen to what a few satisfied members have to say.
My name is Rich Case, and I'm the president of Cypress Health Group. We have 18 facilities here in the state of Florida. And we've been a member of our Florida Promise since its inception. And our Florida Promise is an excellent way of making all of the long-term care community on the skilled rehab side have one voice up here in Tallahassee. And that way we do not appear splintered as a group, and that we can act in unison and attack the issues. Specifically, reimbursement is our number one cause that our Florida Promise is devoted to.
That's how I started engaging when we were in a battle on reimbursement, and I realized how many staff members I was going to have to cut if they cut our reimbursement. And then I realized that my little elderly residents may not get their call light answered as quickly as they should. And that's how I became engaged, was realizing that I was blessed with arms, legs, and a mouth, and I could get to Tallahassee and make that relationship with the legislature.
We've really gotten our folks involved in the process to where they understand what all this means. What goes on in Tallahassee affects them directly at the bedside. The decisions made in committee meetings by their legislators that live in their district affect them on a day-to-day basis.
Now we're going to jump to the FHCA corporate headquarters, where our Senior Director of Reimbursement, Tony Marshall, joins us. Tony, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Emmett. Glad to be able to join.
Tony, congratulations on a great 2012 session. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the 2012 budget as it relates to nursing homes?
Well, as the state entered this 2012 session, they entered with a $2 billion budget deficit, about $1 billion of which was attributable to Medicaid. So we entered expecting some significantly large proposed cuts. Thankfully, due to the efforts of the members and their grassroots efforts in educating about the complexities and how Medicare and Medicaid affect each other, we were able to enter the conference process with a 2.5% budget deficit in the House and a 0% cut in the Senate. And ultimately, we had a successful outcome by having a 1.25% budget reduction, which represented a cut of about $35 million. We also had an increase in our provider assessment of about $30 million, which will allow us to buy back an additional $75 million or so in provider cuts from prior years. And we got full inflation of our price level or inflated rates. So we've actually had a very successful outcome for the budget session.
And Tony, while that's great news on the state front, we know we've got an even bigger challenge with Medicare funding on the federal front. Let us know what you're seeing coming from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Medicare funding for nursing homes has really made the cuts for Medicaid be real. Historically, Medicare has been used to help offset the reductions in Medicaid and the losses under the Medicaid program. So when cuts are made in Medicare, it reduces our providers' ability to be able to offset those costs now. There were a series of Medicare cuts. The Affordable Care Act has cuts over the next 10 years that reduce market basket. There was an obvious 11% reduction in our RUG rates last October, and the Deficit Reduction Act will impose a 2% reduction in the next year. That will be an automatic holdback. And then there was the fix in the physician pay rates and the rehab therapy rates in earlier this year that will also cause an additional reduction in Medicare payments by lowering the amount of our Medicare bad debt that can be reimbursed.
And finally, Tony, I'd ask you to tell me what you see coming down the road as it relates to the 2013 budget for nursing homes.
Well, we're hopeful at this point, just as we were last year heading into session, that there will be improved revenue collections, that the state's economy will improve, that there will be more jobs. And if those things happen, we're hopeful that there will be some funding available that may allow us to begin to restore some of the prior year cuts. Obviously, our goal will be to protect our current funding levels and to be able to do that. There is some effort and some discussion about changes in the Medicaid payment methodology that are taking place. The Medicare Long-Term Care Managed Care Technical Advisory Panel has made some recommendations that we begin to consider changes in our methodology, one of which is that we go to a once-a-year rate setting. And there are some discussions about changing methodology as well that we'll be looking at. Obviously, you've heard from some others about potential changes in CON and other issues that may affect payment, but we're hopeful that next year we won't start out the year with such a big deficit and we can actually work to restore some funding cuts.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very much.
And now I'm here with Director of Government Services for FHCA, Peggy Rigsby. Peggy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Emmett. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. I'm very, very interested to hear about your take on the regulatory language that passed this year. And if there's ever a saying, persistence overcomes resistance with this language, am I right?
That's true. That would be a good way to characterize it, that's for sure.
Well, tell me, walk us through the process in your view of what happened and how we ended up.
Okay. Well, we had several regulatory issues that we put together in a bill and worked with a great House and Senate sponsors, Representative Frisch, and we've interviewed him before, Senator Latvala, and we pushed those bills. We helped push those bills through the legislative process. Unfortunately, at the end, on the last day of session, the bills hit a snag. They weren't moving. Representative Frisch did a great job of going over to the Senate to try to determine what was causing the bill to slow down. As it turned out, because there's a lot of activity on the last day of session, we were able to actually take the provisions of that bill, and with the help of Senator Bogdanoff and Senator Siplin, we were able to put our language on another moving bill, and we were able to pass it this year. So that bill is on its way to the governor. Hopefully he'll be signing it within the next probably 30 days, and we'll be able to have some great regulatory changes for our members.
Well, congratulations to our members and to you and the entire lobby team. So talk a little bit more about how the bill actually will help nursing home employees and the residents they serve.
Well, it eliminates a lot of duplication between the state and the federal law. For example, the federal law tells us that medical records have to be completed thoroughly and accurately. So we don't need a state regulation that requires a medical records consultant. The facility can determine how to comply with federal law. That would suffice for state law. One of the biggest things that's in that bill, I think that will be a help for our members, is right now, and we use kind of a graphic when we're talking to legislators, but when an adverse incident occurs in a facility, there are 4 different forms that are completed, but all sent to the Agency for Healthcare Administration within a very tight time frame. We're going to eliminate, this bill eliminates 1 of those 4. So that leaves 3 provisions that will be still done, 3 forms that will still be done, but it will make it easier on the facility to drop that 1. We eliminate some staffing reports, we eliminate some grievance reports, different things like that that the facility staff have to fill out and submit to the state, and we have found over time that those things are not used by the state, and so we're able to eliminate them. You know, we can't change the federal regulations, so we try to look at a way that we can find if there's something in the state law that duplicates, if we can eliminate that, then, you know, we've reached our goal.
And And elimination of duplication allows for more time with the residents.
Exactly.
Right.
That's how you put patients ahead of paperwork.
You know, I joked earlier that this was a long time in the making, but you know, it's not often that a bill in its first year would pass. Is that true?
That's true. That's true. There's kind of some jokes you hear around the Capitol a lot about, you know, your first session, you're just introducing it, getting the idea out there, determining who your resistance is, who your enemies are, how to strategize for the next year. So even though it's taken us a few years to get these provisions passed, they're really going to be good and be a great help for our members. So it's worth it.
Well, and speaking of our members, I don't think this bill passes without their help.
Absolutely.
Talk about the grassroots effort and the importance of that.
You know, we have a couple of ways that people can get involved. They can get involved in Lobby Wednesday. This year, we had more Lobby Wednesday participants than any other year, over 500
that's amazing.
members. It was great. And not just administrators or nurses. We had social workers, we had bookkeepers, activity directors, social workers, all different types of professionals from the facility. Certified nursing assistants came, and we even had some residents and some families who came and visited their legislator to talk about our issues and explain why they're important. And nothing sits better with the legislator than that constituent visit from home. So that's one way people get involved. Another way is actually participating in our Florida Healthcare PAC. We have a political entity that Florida Healthcare members can participate in, and by contributing to the PAC, they're able to help us get candidates into buildings, meet the facility staff, meet the families, meet the residents, and actually see what we do in the nursing homes, because many of the legislators here have never been in a nursing home. They don't know what it's like. So this gives them a chance to see firsthand what we're doing, and we like to support the candidates who are supportive of our issues.
Well, so I guess next year, this is done so you can relax and you're finished.
Right,
There's nothing else to do. Or what do you see on the horizon for next year?
Well, I know we're going to have a couple of big issues that we've talked about in some of our other settings, but from the regulatory side, we have a couple of little ideas we want to pursue, maybe as an amendment onto a bill. But we have big issues, tort reform and reimbursement, which is always big and important, and a couple of other things that we're going to be focusing on. So I think regulatory is going to kind of sit back this year. Like I said, maybe work on a couple small things, and then just gather our forces probably for the next year.
Good. Well, listen, congratulations. Great work.
Thank you.
And here's to a great session.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Becky.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. We leave you now with some great highlights from the 2012 legislative session. The 2012 legislative session kicked off Tuesday, and with Florida facing a $2 billion budget shortfall, lawmakers are once again looking to fill that hole with budget cuts. Senator Joe Negron, who chairs the Senate Budget Subcommittee on Health and Human Services Appropriations, has indicated publicly that he had no intentions of cutting nursing home funding in his budget this year. FHCA kicked off its Lobby Wednesdays this week with members from the Florida Leaders Program, Emerald Coast Rehabilitation Center, and Emmett Health Management. I caught up with them at the Capitol to hear about their lawmaker visits and their commitment to this important grassroots initiative.
We have to show with the state of the country how important they are and do all that we can so that we can survive in giving quality care without major cuts.
The Nursing Home Quality Efficiency Act was on the move in both the House and Senate. House Bill 621 passed its second committee stop on Tuesday, and I had the chance to catch up with Representative Frisch, who is the sponsor of this important bill.
We have made major strides over the last 20 years in improving the quality of care, and we try to stay very focused on the care given to the individual and let everything else revolve around that.
The House proposed budget came out Tuesday and contained a 2.5% cut to Medicaid funding for nursing home care. The Senate is still deliberating their proposal, so we can expect it to be released in the coming week. As we move through the budget process, FHCA will continue working with lawmakers on solutions that will ensure facilities have the resources needed to maintain an adequate workforce and ultimately deliver high-quality care. We're past the halfway mark of the 2012 legislative session, and as always, FHCA is grateful to our members for their ongoing support in our advocacy efforts. We start our Lobby Wednesdays out at the Florida Healthcare Association. This Lobby Wednesday was unbelievable, as over 100 participants were trained by FHCA staff on what to expect when they lobby the legislature.
We're here today at the Capitol to talk to several senators and representatives about some of the issues on the table.
FHCA has been watching the debate in Washington that could impact providers' Medicare rates. With 80% of residents in our member facilities relying on government funding to pay for their long-term care, it's important that we keep educating Congress about the impact their decisions have on facility resources back home. We're just 2 weeks away from the end of the 2012 legislative session. Both chambers will now come together to work out differences in their respective budgets. The timing was perfect for more than 200 FHCA members to be with us this week for another successful Lobby Wednesday.
No more cuts.
Today we're coming to you direct from the fourth floor of the Florida Capitol with just over 24 hours left to go until the end of the Florida legislative session. Downstairs in the Capitol courtyard, FHCA is taking part in Ambassadors for Aging Day. This will help raise awareness about the important role that our members play in delivering quality care to thousands of nursing home and assisted living facility residents across the state. I really feel like we're going to end up with a great session. I'm very hopeful that we do, but there's no way that this could have happened without the over 500 members of FHCA that attended Lobby Wednesdays this year. Until next time, I'm Emmett Reed, keeping you informed about the critical issues that impact long-term care and the providers we represent.